I don't know if he needs an apology. He needs Zelensky to recognize the position that he's in.
Which to you is what?
We're their patron. We're their best hope for the killing to stop and for them to emerge from this sovereign and prosperous. And we're also their best hope as a business partner. I mean, all Zelensky had to do today was put on a tie, show up, smile, say thank you, sign the papers, and have lunch. That's it. And he couldn't do that. And this followed 10 days of being difficult in private and now 1 day of being stupid in public. This did not have to go down this way.
Okay.
And however you feel about why it started, why it's going on, who's right and who's wrong, we can help them in this and come out okay on the other side, and he's making it hard.
Now, first of all,
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I actually agree with Scott. And everything that he said was basically right.
Wow.
I know. I'm going to get killed on social media for admitting that, but so be it. And the fact is that it doesn't matter whether Vice President Vance planned it or just took the opportunity to bait Zelensky. Zelensky took the bait. Okay,
yeah.
And he shouldn't have. He made a mistake.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Yeah, buddy. Peace through strength. Tired of funding this war, people dying. That fella came for a paycheck. He got a reality check. Daddy's home. And stepdaddy is partnering up with the real daddy. The what they call it? Biological daddy? Biological daddy. The stepdaddy and the biological daddy working together. Ain't never seen nothing like it. Yes, indeed. F around, find out. This second term, this administration isn't effing around. And you got to show some respect. Yeah. And if y'all want, and anybody against it, anybody defending that fella, that movie actor, you take your butt down to Ukraine and send your paycheck down there as well. Send your salary down there and you go down there and put your boots on and enjoy the show. But we stand with our president and J.D. Vance, our vice president. I tell you, yes, indeed, this is exactly what we voted for. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. We keep it real. It's getting real. One love to the human race. God bless them beautiful patriots around the world. I love y'all, man. And we are rocking and rolling. Let's get into it.
So, you know, my first day on the White House beat was Joe Biden's first day. I've seen many of these oval sprays. Some of them can be kind of boring. Yesterday, top of the list, most interesting, possibly most consequential.
Yeah.
And this president, Donald Trump, who's been asking federal workers for 5 things that they did last week, all he was asking Zelensky was to say thank you. Just say thank you. And he wouldn't do it.
Truly amazing. And it's funny in this environment. So I keep my texts at 0. That's like the one thing I always clear out are all my texts. But I was in the air. I was flying at the same time. When I landed, I opened up, you turn your phone on, and I had like 70 texts. Everybody going, oh my gosh, did you see this? Oh my gosh, are you watching this? And then at that point, I'm like, oh no, something bad has happened.
And you just have a lot of friends who are in the rare earth minerals business.
Right, exactly. All of my rare earth dealers are...
Well, exactly. Here is that moment that the entire, listen, this is reverberating across the world and sending messages to other leaders as well. Here is this exchange that has just everyone riveted.
We signed ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happened.
And look at his body language. A lot of people missed. Look at his body language. You know, I'm telling you, I know a lot of people caught on to it, but there's a lot of people that didn't catch it. Look at it. Look at it. If you watch the entire thing, look at his body language, man. And I invite people to go watch the entire thing because you know how the fake news is, how they cut things. They don't show what, the full thing. They call Trump and Vance bullies. Yeah. Look at his body language. And I'm glad this took place, man. Sitting there look like a little boy. Like a little old boy.
Is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you'd take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you what
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
And we don't know how Zelensky misread the situation so much, but we know what he missed, right? It's not Trump's money. It's not Biden's money. It's American taxpayer money. It's people that just elected Trump that he is still in touch with. He still feels a connection to.
We want our money back. Every last nickel, dime, penny. And Americans ought to be hotter than fish grease right now. Money gone, money stolen, theft, people with their hands in the cookie jar, abused, wasted.
Who are complaining that they can't afford eggs right now and that everything is so expensive, and then we're pouring $300 billion a year into Ukraine. And, Donald Trump did something that at my house we sometimes have to do with the 2-year-old. They say if your toddler is having a tantrum, sometimes the only thing that you can do is just take them to another, remove them, and let them cry it out. And that's what
he's on timeout. There's no question. He's on timeout. Listen, I think that the attitude that he had coming into this is fascinating. First of all, let's just talk about that we're even seeing this, that Donald Trump has allowed the curtain to be pulled so that the world can see what an exchange like this looks like, and also see who Zelensky is, because he's been sort of propped up as this, George Washington figure, and yet you see the way he acted in here. He literally believes everything the elites and the neocons told him about himself. He didn't seem to realize that USAID actually paid the celebrities who came in to see him. He's believing his own sort of Euro press. And he comes into this meeting with that attitude. And, listen, I saw a lot of alpha male energy coming from Donald Trump, from J.D. Vance, saying, listen, I don't know what the other guy did before me, but this is a new sheriff. We're going to end this war because a lot of people have died. J.D. Vance talked about, how they're forcing conscripts up. I've read stories that they even had took men with Down syndrome and recruited them and forced them into vans to recruit them to go into this meat grinder of a war. This has been a brutal war, and Donald Trump said to him, "You are gambling with World War III, and we're not going to pay for this."
And of course, after that explosive meeting, Zelensky canceled all of his interviews with American media after that, except for our own Bret Baier. But then he went on with Bret Baier last night on Special Report and did not take the opportunity to apologize.
Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Can be. Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people, from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people helped to save our people.
Based on everything that we know about what happened yesterday, Zelensky thinks he's going to get a better deal from, that he can get a better deal from Donald Trump by holding out. But based on everything that we know about Donald Trump, that's not going to happen. And these Zelensky political geniuses should have told him beforehand that it's possible J.D. Vance or somebody in the room might bring up that he did campaign alongside these Democrats in the 2024 cycle, because there's one person in the world with an encyclopedia in their mind of everybody who ever campaigned with a Democrat or another Republican, and that is Donald Trump. And we've got this video. There they are in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Zelensky went to Battleground, PA, with Josh Shapiro, the #1 Harris surrogate for a while once Biden was sidelined, and Bob Casey, who was running, is right there behind him. He lost. And they were watching these missiles that the U.S. was paying for and sending over to Ukraine. Look, he's signing them. And he was acting like he didn't know what Vance is talking about. Oh, you went and campaigned with the opposition. That's what he's talking about.
Not only did that happen, but I believe Donald Trump tried to report this as foreign interference in this election. And by the way, repulsive, signing these bombs that are going to kill.
And yes, in the same outfit that you wear to the Oval Office, by the way, at the bomb factory.
He has like one costume.
And of course, foreign interference also being the premise of the entire first sham impeachment against Donald Trump in the first place. So it's kind of worth noting that. But it also goes back to the point with Zelensky. You have no cards, bro. The only cards you have are the cards that President Trump is providing you, the American people are providing you. That's the only reason you're here in the first place. And for him to get all cheeky and talk about, oh, no, we're not playing cards here, like refusing to accept. It's like dealing with like a drunk, insolent teenager, trying to have a logical debate with him. And he's just being like, nyeh, 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 nyeh. And you can't be surprised that it ends up pissing off Donald Trump.
Yeah, and J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance.
And everybody else.
I think the role of Vance in this was so fascinating. The way he and Trump are tag teaming on this. And that they're both on the same America First page.
It's bad cop and badder cop.
It's amazing. So no surprise, Democrats took that America First exchange that you just saw, and they're on the side of Zelensky. Watch.
President Trump wants to look tough. It's important for the American people to understand, because of what happened today, we are all less safe. They're going to be happy about this. Putin and his cronies are probably popping champagne bottles right now.
What we just witnessed between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and President Zelensky inside the White House was an ambush. It was a planned ambush designed to embarrass President Zelensky in order to benefit Vladimir Putin. That was an embarrassment. That was an abomination.
The President of the United States is a coward who is Vladimir Putin's puppet. It's just embarrassing.
Oh, man, these people kill me, man. Yeah. CNN. This is why y'all have no ratings. And this clown ought to take his butt down there to Ukraine and donate your whole salary there, sir. Disgrace, man.
That the only hero in the Oval Office, the only decent human being for that matter, is the Ukrainian.
It's a very sad day.
That's I don't even know how you even let that come out your mouth. Yeah, you sir are a laughing stock
And an embarrassment for the United States on the world stage. But let's step.
Ma'am, you shouldn't even be in politics. Move on.
This is great television.
Susan Rice set up this whole war. Susan Rice encouraged.
Ought to be with your hands behind your back. In jail. Nowhere near any cameras, any screens, nothing to do with politics. In jail.
Zelensky to push for entering into NATO and sort of signal we might do that. And that, of course, ended up ticking off Putin and I think in many ways starting this invasion. And that's why Donald Trump has said, no, you're not going to be part of NATO in this deal. We're going to leave that as a neutral area. And also you're going to pay us back. The Europeans, you guys, are also sending messages similar to the Democrats saying, we stand with you, Zelensky. And I think it's interesting because what I see is that the American people are not just seeing the ingratitude and sort of entitlement of Zelensky, but that actually is emblematic of the Europeans in general. They don't seem to care that we have our own problems here, that we have our own debt, that we have our own people to take care of.
We have our own border.
We have our own border that we're just now finally, thank God, because of Donald Trump securing. And for this guy to walk in here with that kind of attitude, I think is also a bad look for Europe in general, but also, I think, reflective of who they are.
And to all these Democratic lawmaker points that this was a big setup and it's so embarrassing. White House officials insist to us it was not a setup. And somebody went on the Daily Mail, a White House official, to say Zelensky should not have gone after JD. But the bigger point about these Democrats, they have amnesia because, yes, this extraordinary moment played out on live TV. But this extraordinary moment also happened behind closed doors 2.5 years ago. NBC News, Halloween 2022, Joe Biden, had barely finished telling Zelensky he just green-lighted another $1 billion in U.S. military assistance for Ukraine when Zelensky started listing all the additional help he needed and wasn't getting. Biden lost his temper. People familiar with the call said the American people were being quite generous and his administration and the U.S. military were working hard to help Ukraine, he said, raising his voice, and Zelensky could show a little more gratitude. If you swapped in the names Trump and Vance, that is pretty much exactly describing what we saw yesterday. They just, in politics, there's this rule, the top people, they never really say sorry for anything. But you can say thank you.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that was a private call. It's hard. We heard that readout of it, but it's a whole other thing, isn't it, Charlie? Just seeing it, seeing his face, seeing his smirk, seeing him roll his eyes, seeing him refer to J.D. Vance, the vice president, as J.D., while J.D. refers to him as Mr. President, showing up in the Oval Office, wearing his military costume.
And sitting there like this. Wait, you sit there like this if
body
you're
language
in trouble for something, or if you're really worried about.
Yeah, the body language was something else, and the eye rolling and the huffing. It was the body language in and of itself was pretty amazing.
Wow. Tulsi Gabbard, she's thanking Trump for his unwavering leadership, especially with the Zelensky situation and the showdown in the Oval Office. Let's listen to what Tulsi has to say about that showdown. Oh, actually, it's a post. So I just saw a video of her talking about it, so I thought we were putting that up. But here's the post. She says, thank you, @Real Donald Trump, for unwavering leadership and standing up for the interests of the American people and peace. What you said is absolutely true. Zelensky has been trying to drag the United States into a nuclear war with Russia, World War III, for years now. And no one has ever called him out on it. Thank you, Vice President J.D. Vance, for speaking out so forcefully and clearly about the necessity of diplomacy. Shannon, she also posted a video talking about how Zelensky, basically banned his opposition and seized all of that person's assets. So she's definitely not a fan. A lot of people agreeing with that message. Your thoughts?
Yeah, she's been very critical of President Zelensky for a long time. And she has said from the beginning that Russia had what she saw as legitimate concerns about Ukraine joining NATO, then NATO being right there on the border with Russia. And I'm going to probe with her this morning because she's going to join us this morning, her first Sunday show doing Fox News Sunday since becoming the DNI. What does she feel now? What, about who started this, how it's supposed to end? She's been very critical of Ukraine and Zelensky as a leader. So I think there are a lot of questions there to get answered. Clearly, she thought what happened in the Oval Office on Friday was President Trump showing strength. And a lot of people feel that way, as awkward as it got, that Americans have been pouring billions of taxpayer dollars into Ukraine with no end in sight. And a lot of people here in America were sort of ready for what happened there on Friday and felt like it was a good thing, and she's among them.
And Shannon, we talked about this for 4 hours yesterday. After the show, I heard from somebody on the Trump team who was in the room for these negotiations and was talking about how something that is lost in all of this is that it started out so warmly, but that now, moving forward, unless, what I'm told by this person, it's ultimately up to President Trump, but that at this point, unless Zelensky makes an explicit public apology, then all bets are off for this mineral deal, and things are just going to be at a standstill. What do you think is more important to the White House at this point? Meeting President Trump's goal of ending the war within 100 days, his first 100 days, which is April 30th, or just exacting this apology and a mineral deal from Zelensky?
Yeah, I think ultimately he does. Peter, as you said, he wants to get this done. He campaigned on this, on ending this. He talks about the constant bloodshed on both sides, hundreds of thousands of people gone forever from their families and from the future of that country. I think he's a deal maker. I think we all know that at the end of the day, he wants to get this thing done. And he started to feel like, this White House has started to feel like Zelensky is a roadblock to getting that done. There's also been a lot of growing frustration that I've heard from folks who have been in some of these meetings, and some of this has been discussed publicly as well. Meetings with people like Secretary Bessent, Vice President Vance, and Secretary Rubio, having conversations with Zelensky that have been very heated, trying to move things forward, and then coming out in some cases feeling like what he said with them privately was then misrepresented as something else publicly. So this wasn't like this just blew up on Friday. You guys know that this has been building for a while.
Before we get to what else you have going on the show today, I just, you've been covering Washington for a long time. Do you ever remember a more sort of explosive, public, open meeting in the White House than what we saw on Friday?
Definitely not in the Oval. I think we all know this is how these guys talk to each other behind closed doors. I think we all expect that. It's going to get rough and tumble. They're going to raise their voices. They're going to have arguments. But for it to spill out so publicly after all of these other foreign visits this week with Macron and with Starmer that were very diplomatic, and they have differences with President Trump for sure, but they were very effusive in their praise while they're on U.S. soil sitting in the Oval Office. So it was a little bit stunning that this thing devolved to the way it did. And I cannot say I've seen anything like that at the White House ever.
But what is the impact of that? Do you think that it's an overall good, like it's transparency, we're seeing what's done, American people can see Zelensky as he is, like him or not? Or do you think that this is not a good thing? What is your view, as Charlie said, having had this experience?
Yeah, I felt very cringe as it was happening. I happened to be at the White House for a completely separate meeting that did not involve this. And when I walked out of the meeting, this had just gone down, and it was like shell shock over there. I mean, and I'm looking around and people are saying like, I think the press conference is going to be canceled. I'm like, what just happened while we were in this other meeting over there? I mean, there was definitely, like radiation fallout that was rippling through the place over there. I don't know. When you think about Europe watching this, when you think about Xi watching this, Putin watching this, you've got a lot of praise from the Russians. And, a lot of folks think that that's not a good thing. Recent polling out that we'll talk about on the show this morning shows 81% of Americans do not think that we should trust Putin. So while they may have problems with Zelensky, they really do not like Putin either. And he was watching the meeting, and a lot of his folks were out there celebrating it this morning. Yeah. So,
and when Shannon says that she had a totally separate meeting at the White House, she also does a lot of work with rare earth minerals.
As I do.
I'm sure that's part of the show
this
today.
This ring right here, no, has nothing to do with it. No, but listen, Peter, you're my old roommate from D.C.
It's true.
And so-
Office mate. I mean, roommate, office mate. It's fine. There was
I have to bring that up all the time.
I would say,
but yes.
we were just talking about old movies. When I got to Washington, D.C., and they put me in the office with Shannon, the Nacho Libre poster on the wall was already there. That was Shannon.
Yes, I still have that up. I think it's very classy, and it's the message of Fox News Sunday.
You still have that in your office?
Heck yeah. I've
Is it
got
at
that
least
and Napoleon
framed now?
Dynamite. That and Napoleon Dynamite. I feel like those are classics that cannot be ignored.
Shannon Bream, pure class. Who else do you have on the show today?
Well, we've got